What else? Oh, I just want to add, in the city of Boston, I haven't seen the inspections being a problem. Of late, I've been getting some complaints in other parts of the state. It might be smaller boards of health that aren't. They actually know how to do the inspections. They've been becoming weak in writing it up the proper way so the utility company understands that it was cited for one of these. This happens sometimes, it's just worth knowing because there's such good legal remedies. It's not that common, but it does happen. Okay, then I saved the messiest utility problem for last. So let me go back and say we are talking about the situation where the bill has been put in someone else's name intentionally, and you kind of know that that's occurred, not the situation where your client may have been the victim of identity theft and someone has put the bill in your client's name. So let me give you the kind of better news and the easier situations and the bad news and the harder situations. So one situation, we won't deal with that much in our world, I don't think, but with elderly people, often the wife survives the husband and the bills were in the husband's name. If the husband dies with the bills in his name, he's in the hospital, they fell behind, they couldn't pay the bills, the wife can get service in her own name if she has a clean record, because again, the bills were in her husband's name. She probably doesn't owe the company any money from some other address if she calls up relatively quickly. We have a theory in Massachusetts called customer of record. He was the customer of record in the company's files. She is not a customer of record, even though she lived there. In some other states, spouses or friends living with you or roommates can be responsible even though their name is not on the account. That's not true in Massachusetts. So if she calls up, and I want to underline quickly, they'll probably put service in her name without trying to chase her for anything. If she waits a year and says, oh, you know what, the last year, of course, you didn't know someone had died in this house, but I'm out of all those bills. That probably is not going to work. So it should be done relatively quickly. There is a statute in Massachusetts called the Married Women's Statute. I don't want to spend a lot of time in it, but if she has assets, she can be held responsible for the husband's bills. Companies don't seem to pursue it that much. If that comes up, let me know. I do want to mention one other thing. I mean, quite often when one spouse dies, the other spouse is the heir to the estate, inherits whatever that deceased person had. The estate is liable for the bills. So if Sam dies and Sam has some money, Sam's estate is liable for the bills. And if she's inherited the estate, she's, as the administrator of the estate, she's liable for the bills, but that doesn't stop her from getting service in her own name. They can chase her for the money, but they can't stop her from getting service. A lot of our clients, there is no money, so you want to get the bills out. You want to get a new account in her name with no debt from the husband's account. So that's kind of the easier one, good news. The one that's not so hard to solve, the next step, the kid who's had bills put in the kid's name by the parent or some other adult. How many of you have seen this one? Right. You're working with the 19-year-old who's trying to get housed, and that 19-year-old doesn't even know until she tries to move in somewhere that she owes a lot of money. This has gotten harder, so I'll tell you that in theory, because she didn't know that that happened and wasn't complicit in it, she should get service in her name, but here's the following problems. One, the utility company will almost always say, okay, who did that to you? I want the name of that person and I want to know where they live. Now, as a lawyer, I am prohibited from representing people who are in conflict with each other, and I suggest you shouldn't represent people who are in conflict with each other. So I'm assuming you're representing the kid and not trying to help the parent because they are in conflict with each other at that point. So it is the kid's choice as to whether or not they want to name mom or the other adult who did that. That often used to be sufficient. The company would give the kid the service in her own name. Just a little, there's two situations though. If that happened when the kid was 17 and a half, the company may suspect the kid knew about it and it was an agreement between mom and kid. But I've seen situations where this has been going on for years and years and the kid was so young there's no way in the world the kid knew about it when it happened. Okay, companies may also say, if that's really true, we want you to go file a complaint with the police. I have not yet seen that the police pursue that as a crime. I can't rule that out. I can't completely rule that out. I've never seen that. I think what the company is really saying, if you really believe that's true, you publicly put that in a police complaint, okay, then we'll take the bill out of your name. The third thing they sometimes ask is they want the young adult to sue that person before they'll take it out of the name. Now, the thing I don't know is how many of those steps will the DPU Consumer Division require? I don't know, because I haven't seen that play out yet. So maybe if this has been going on for 10 years, the kid was 8 years old at the time, maybe the DPU would say, as long as that kid, that now 19-year-old, will name mom and say where mom lives, that should be enough. We all have to agree that 8-year-old was not complicit in it. But I don't know. Will the DPU say they have to file a police report? Will the DPU say they have to sue mom? I don't know, because none of this is answered yet in any formal way. But that one, if you do enough homework, maybe you can solve that one. So now let me get to the bad, and the ugly. The bad, and the ugly is representing mom. I checked with our litigation director because I've been out of law school so long, but it is an actionable, meaning you can be sued for materially misrepresenting a relevant fact that someone relied on in a contractual situation. So mom misrepresented that that 8-year-old was the person responsible for the bill. The company relied on it to its detriment because now they're having a hard time collecting the bill. So you could be sued for that. And I used to say I never knew that happened, except in the last few years I've begun to hear of a few cases where the company has gone after mom. So one of the calls I had was, I can't seem to get my client service because the company says they've won a judgment against her and they're never going to give us service again. So one of the few reasons you can be, there's only 2 reasons I can think of that you can just be flat out denied service in Massachusetts, even if you have the money to clear up any money owed. One is you owe money from a prior address, but that can be solved with money. And the other is you've committed some kind of fraud against the company. So what are we going to do with mom? My experience is that if you can get enough money on the table, and so mom, and I just use that generically, whoever that adult is who did it, can come forward and say, here's money, I want that account back in my name. So let's say the reason mom took it out of her name is there was $1,500 owed, so she put it in the kid's name. If Fuel Assistance has $1,300 available, maybe if you go to the utility, they'll say, you know what, you got $1,300 on $1,500, yeah, hey, no grudges, just give us the $1,300 and work out a payment plan on the remaining $200. But I have to caution that there are legal risks out there. I don't know that the company says, oh, you came forward and admitted you defrauded us, we're going to take you to court. So I'd have to say, you really want to contact legal services on this because you are exposing people to legal liability here. And I think you need to be extremely careful. I mean, maybe it's even practicing law without a license to go too close to that situation, and maybe you want to be referring it somewhere else.